Let's start with the Niners. They're a little banged up in the backfield, Mark. Can they stay so reliant on Jimmy G if they want to win it all?
No, that's not how they're built. I mean, Jimmy G is doing a great job, but they're built off their run game, off their play action game. Their explosives, to me, are for the majority. When you think about the Niners' explosive plays in the passing game, it's usually like a 7-yard slant where somebody breaks a tackle, or it's off of tight end. It's Kittle off of play action where he gets wide open, run a through route, in the middle of the football field, and nobody picks him up, and he goes 20, 30 yards, 40 yards for a touchdown. So, it's all their whole passing game to me is more based off of their play action game, off their run game. I look at their receivers. I don't see that kind of big time X, where the Devontae Adams type guys, where you got to double team, and even when you double team him, he's still going to find, it's still going to be open. So I don't look at their receiving core that way. So I think when I watch them and I see them play and I call their games, it's more about designed explosives in the passing game that come off the run game.
Mark Schlereth with us. You just brought up Devontae Adams. Obviously, Josh Jacobs ate big time on Sunday. Is there any way that the Raiders can let him walk after the season he's having, Mark?
Well, I mean, the way they're using him, like he played against the Broncos and they had 24 total carries in that game. Josh Jacobs had 24 total carries. Like he had all the carries in the game. Like it's like, hey, we're not going to. It's almost like they're just going, hey, we're probably not going to resign him. We're just going to use him up and send him on his way. He is having a phenomenal season. And he does such a good job. I think one of the things that oftentimes we don't really watch him. I called the game against the Broncos, and I talked about it on the broadcast. He gets so deep in the line of scrimmage that eventually the linebackers just have to fire. They just have to trigger and go. And he waits for them to cross over, and the O-line doesn't even have to get up on him. They don't even have to get to the second level. They just stay on the first level, and he basically blocks the linebackers for the offensive line because he gets so deep in, and then all of a sudden, he pops out to the left, and whoop, the next thing you know, he's on the safeties. He's 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. So he does a great job of blocking the second level with the way he runs the ball, the way he gets in the line of scrimmage. He's blocking the second level by himself. He's having a phenomenal year. He's a lot of fun to watch.
Mark, I wish we were at a point that we had the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you because maybe you do. You played in the league for a long time. What is a catch?
Yeah, you're listen. I get things. I get that all the time, and I think the thing that's interesting, and I heard somebody say this once. If you put the game in front of a bunch of 11, 12-year-old boys or girls, for that matter, and say, "Hey, listen, you guys tell me, what is this a catch or not a catch?" They'll go, "Yeah, that's a catch," or "No, that's not a catch." Like they'd be able to figure it out. There's so many rules, the 2 feet down with a football act, or I don't know what it is. Like I just look at it and go, "Yeah, that's a catch," or "Yeah, that's not a catch." It just doesn't seem like it should be this hard.
No, and it's been hard for a long time for the league, which is just astounding to me. Mark Schlereth with us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Of course, Mark with NFL on Fox, also 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Mark, you said you did the Broncos game. Of course, you work in Denver. We've talked about Russell Wilson a couple times this year. What do you do, or what can you do with Wilson at this point? Is there anything the Broncos can do to get the best out of this guy at this point?
Yeah, but I think it's going to take a different coach, or somebody that Russell respects enough. Because I'll just say, listen, they can't block anybody. They can't beat man-to-man coverage. There's nothing. Like I can't find one thing that they do well. Like not one thing. And one of the things that's funny, because I've had the opportunities to consult for several teams in the NFL, and sometimes when somebody's really struggling on offense, I always say, okay, what's one thing you can do? and do that one thing and build off that one thing. And then, create adjunct plays in the passing game off that one thing, adjunct runs off a run that you do, like if it's just a one run, like one concept, run that thing out of different formations, personnel groupings, motions, whatever the case may be, but you run one play and then build off that one play.
Right.
And at least you can start moving in that direction. There's not one thing that they do well. And I would tell you this, like if I took over, I'd say this is the style of offense we're going to run. You're going to be under center. We're going to run play action stuff. We're going to run the boot keep game. We're going to run the snot out of the football, and we're going to major in wide zone and and then mid zone, and we're going to run the heck out of that stuff. And here's your choice, because this is not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. So this is the choice you get, Russell. You can either play offense the way I want to play offense, or you can sit on the bench. It's your choice. What would you like to do? Oh, you'd like to play? Okay, this is the way we're going to play. And if you don't play that way, you're not going to get to play. And until he respects somebody, or until somebody has the balls on that coaching staff to actually do that, then they are going to continue to be the worst offense known to mankind. Because right now there is nothing they do well. And, him sitting in shotgun, trying to read things out, that he's just awful. I mean, you can tell how a team feels about you by the way they play you. And I looked like in the passing game, I mean, the Carolina Panthers sat in man to man. They had single high safety, so they were in cover one.
Yep.
Sometimes they play man, they play two man with two safeties back. And they basically just said, you can't beat us. This is what we think of it. We think so little of you that you can't protect, so we're going to bring an extra defender, and you can't beat us one-on-one in man coverage. It's like that is the ultimate in disrespect. The ultimate in disrespect. There's not one dude on your football team that threatens us. And that's the freaking Carolina Panthers. What do they want? 3 games, 4 games? That's the freaking Carolina Panthers.
Mark, I got one more for you. We talk strategy from time to time and analytics. What'd you think of both Doug Peterson and Brandon Staley going for 2 when they were down by 1 late, playing for the win instead of the tie?
Yeah, it's great when it works. It's awful when it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And how many times? I mean, Brandon Staley, like that dude, that he goes for it like it's his job, and he's probably cost them more games than he's won doing it. There's all kinds of theories behind it, but I got to tell you, I'm on the conservative train, and my thought process is I don't want momentum is real, and I never want to. End of the game, it is the end of the game. But going for it on 4th downs in certain situations, giving people field position, I just am not a believer. I'm not a believer. I'm believing in punting it down deep and playing complementary football. Let my defense, go out there and do what they're supposed to do as well. So I just am not a big, I'm not a big 4th down and 1 guy. I'm not a big let's chase points guy. In this league, I just don't believe. I don't believe in the long run that wins you football games. I really don't.
Mark, as always, man, I appreciate the time. We'll catch up with you next week. Have a good week and good weekend.
Thank you. Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you. There goes Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox 104.3 The Fan in Denver, on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So, Mark's, it sounds like Russell Wilson is not the only issue they have in Denver. And it's interesting when Wilson was traded there, and I was part of this, saying, man, they've got a number of young weapons, and they've got some good young receivers there, and, good young back. Should be fine. But Wilson's not the only issue. But as Mark spoke about, I don't think teams are afraid of Russell Wilson. I think those days are over. And Denver is married to him with the amount of assets they gave up and the money they gave him in the offseason, and they're in a very, very difficult position. Very difficult. Sac State football hosting a playoff game this Saturday.